Let's talk a little bit about solar panels on residential real estate. And at the outset, let me admit that I know very little about solar panels outside of the context in which I've experienced them. I haven't done extensive research by any means, but when I go to homes and people are thinking about selling their houses, and they have solar panels, I hear certain stories. I receive certain feedback. I find situations that lend themselves to giving me an opinion about them. So, solar panels, let's start with an example of one that I had for sale last year, where I went to meet the man who hadn't intended to sell this house as quickly as he had to, but life circumstances made it so he had to. I learned that a certain amount of money was owed on these solar panels that were on his roof. And, I've heard of that numerous times over the years, where people who sell homeowners solar panels do just that. They sell them for a certain amount of money and then show the homeowner how them making payments on these solar panels will be offset by the savings they have in their electrical cost or their fuel oil costs. And that is how buyers buy into it. Now, this particular seller, when we went to sell it, still owed quite a bit on those solar panels. There was a lien against his property, as a matter of fact, for an amount that was in the thousands, that when we sold the house, that lien had to be paid off. So he didn't like that reduced his bottom line by a certain amount. I can't remember how he commented on his electrical bill savings during the short time that he had the solar panels, but that was one issue. Another thing that comes up, and I've seen that same type situation play out numerous times, where there's still a lien against the property to pay off the solar panels. Another thing that comes up just about every time is the aesthetics of the solar panels. Now, this relates to the piece of the world in which I live. In this community, it seems like more often than not, if I'm showing houses and a house has solar panels on the front, especially facing the street, a lot of times buyers will not consider it just because of the aesthetics of the property. They just don't like the look of it. And as hard as the seller of that house might try to show would-be buyers what the cost savings are in relation to having those solar panels, most buyers say, well, that's nice and everything, but it's ugly. And I don't want it. That's what I experience here in the area in which I live. So when I get the phone call, and I tend to, it seems, a time or two a year, get a phone call from someone, a past client or friend, hey, I'm considering putting solar panels on my house. What are your thoughts? My first question is, well, do you plan to sell it anytime soon? If the answer is yes, then I say no, don't do that. More buyers than not seem to not like the look of it, and the cost savings isn't enough to sway them to compromise what their property looks like from the street. If the person who asked me that question plans to stay in that house forever, and if reducing their electrical bill is important to them, it's a very personal choice. And maybe they just feel good by, for some reason, having the solar panels. And depending on the person, I might say, well, yeah, it sounds good. But if the question is, hey, we're going to be selling our house soon, should we do this? I'm saying no. So, little insight as to my thoughts and my experiences with solar panels today. If you have other thoughts or insights, please let me know. And I hope you have a fantastic week.